The story opens with a deceptive calm, the kind that settles on the surface of a storm moments before it breaks. For months, James and Diep believed they were fighting only the predictable challenges of a long-distance romance, career pressures, cultural expectations, the weight of two families that lived in opposite worlds. They worked hard, loved quietly, and hoped insistently. But while they were trying to build a future, someone else, someone far more powerful, was busy tearing it apart brick by brick. That someone was James's father, behind closed doors, far from the innocence of the potato fields and the laughter of village children, Mr. Son had been laying the groundwork for a carefully engineered separation. He hired dangerous men. He intimidated women twice his age. He used money the way a surgeon uses a scalpel, not to heal, but to cut with frightening precision. And Diep, unknowingly, had already stepped inside his trap. The episode begins in a back alley workshop, its flickering neon lamp washing the room in a sickly, jaundiced glow. Dust hangs in the air like restless spirits. Mr. Son sits rigidly on a low wooden stool, dressed in a suit so sharp it looks out of place in this cramped, grimy room. His posture is impeccable, his expression unreadable, except for the faint tension in his jaw and the rhythmic tapping of his fingers on the teak table. Each tap lands like a muted threat. Across from him sits a man whose history is carved into his skin, scarred knuckles, nicotine-stained fingertips, a face that has seen far too many interrogation rooms. A former enforcer, tough, dangerous, but with just enough conscience left to make him look uneasy in the presence of James's father. My son wants to marry a poor, uneducated girl, Mr. Son says flatly, as if he's describing a smudge on a mirror rather than a human being. The ex-con stiffens. He crushes his cigarette into the ashtray, cracking the ceramic. Mr. Son, I can't help you. James is my friend. I owe him, but Mr. Son is prepared. He slides a thick folder across the table. Inside, blueprints, contracts, ownership papers. This entire workshop, and the Van Zaan branch, all yours, the man's breath catches. The workshop was his late father's dream. The Van Zaan branch is worth more than he could ever earn in his lifetime. His trembling hands flip through the pages. His conscience fights back, feebly, desperately, but fear, poverty, and temptation are louder. Just get James out of the country, Mr. Son adds. As for Diep, scare her. Threaten her. Hurt her if you must. But do not touch my son. There is a long, suffocating silence before the man finally whispers, "All right." Outside, the night presses against the workshop like a living thing. This old man, the enforcer mutters under his breath, is truly cruel. He has no idea how cruel things are about to become. The next morning rises in warm, golden hues, an almost mocking contrast to the darkness creeping through the village. Diep walks along the potato hills with little Nhi strapped to her back. Nhi giggles every time Diep sways left and right, her tiny arms swinging with joy. Auntie, the potatoes are huge today, Diep laughs. If we sell them all, maybe we can afford that new dress you like. Everything feels peaceful, too peaceful. Then a cold gust slips across the hills. Not a normal breeze, something sharper, as if cutting through the warm air with intent. Instinct prickles along Diep's spine. Her heart tightens without explanation. Hidden behind banana leaves, Nhi's grandmother watches them. Her eyes are red, her hands shake violently with guilt and fear. She wants to warn Diep. She wants to run, but she cannot. Not yet. The shadow on the hillside grows longer. Late in the afternoon, Diep and Nhi walk home along the narrow lane. Dust spirals around them. Nhi hums a tuneless little melody, then suddenly, a figure bursts from a hidden alley. It's Nhi's grandmother. She crashes into Diep, nearly knocking her over, then tries to flee. Diep steadies Nhi and runs after her. Ma'am. Please, wait. The old woman turns. Her face is as pale as rice paper. Be careful, she whispers. Be careful of James's father. He is ruthless. Diep freezes. The warning is not symbolic. Not metaphorical. It is direct, terrifyingly so. Wind whips through the mango trees. Light and shadow dance wildly across the woman's haunted face. She drops to her knees, clutching Diep's arms with desperate strength. You don't understand, she cries. Everything that's happening, it was designed by him. James's father. He has known about you since you were a tiny girl. He has been watching you for years. Diep reels. What? Why? Why would he do this? But the old woman's story only gets worse. He forbids you from marrying James. He will ruin you. He will ruin your family. In this region, he covers the whole sky with one hand. Her voice breaks. She can barely breathe. I was paid to scare you away. To follow you. To threaten you. He said he would destroy my family if I didn't obey. Nhi peeks timidly from behind Diep, her fingers clutching tightly at Diep's shirt. The grandmother sobs harder. I couldn't do it. Not after I saw how much you two love each other. But he has hired others now, people more dangerous than me. The words seem to slice the air. You need to leave James, she pleads. Run, before it is too late. That night, Deep sits outside her home after sending NHI inside. She feels hollow, as if someone has scooped out her soul. She thinks of James, his soft smile, his quiet gestures of care, his promise of a shared future. She wants nothing more than to run into his arms and beg him to protect her, but she knows his father far better than James does. If she tells James the truth, he will confront Mr. Sun, and that confrontation is exactly the explosion Mr. Sun wants to prevent, and might retaliate violently against. Deep wipes her tears. She forces herself upright. I have to protect the people I love, even if it hurts. But danger is already at her doorstep. Near midnight, she hears soft footsteps outside her window. She lifts the curtain slightly, and sees a figure standing near the chicken coop. Motionless. Watching, her blood turns to ice. She locks the back door. She doesn't sleep another minute. At dawn, Deep makes her decision. She cannot tell James, but she must tell someone. She goes to Nyi's grandmother, who is already sitting outside her home, eyes swollen from crying. Tell me everything, Deep says. Every command, every threat, every detail, and the grandmother does. He said you are not worthy of James. That marrying you would humiliate his family. He said your mother was nothing. Your grandmother was nothing. And you, her voice fractures. Deep swallows the insult like poison. But the worst is still coming. He said if you don't leave willingly, they will create a scandal so big James will never look at you again. Photos, lies, police, theft, fraud, something terrible, something believable. Deep's entire world seems to collapse in on itself. If she stays, she ruins James. If she leaves, she destroys both their hearts. There is no way out. Not anymore.